All right, thank you for the introduction. Thank you for having Timespinner on here. So much Timespinner. We've got Timespinner tomorrow and Timespinner on Sunday as well. I'm really excited. I am Jim the Eternal. If you were here during the Tunic randomizer, I was I was commentating for that too. So if I sound familiar, that's why. We've got Saracen in the upper left corner. We've got Sawney in the upper right, J-Lo in the bottom left, and Admiral Tryhard in the bottom right. This is going to be really exciting. So I think we met the incentive for both win conditions, which means that regardless of the intended win condition for this seed, but our runners are going to have to both kill Dad, I guess I should call him Emperor Nuvius, and kill Nightmare in the Ancient Pyramid. So they're gonna have to do both. And depending on which one is the intended win condition for the seed, they should probably choose to do the other one first so as to not to slow themselves down. But we actually don't know what that's going to be. Sorry?
I was going to say, and I'm reading here that there was a incentive to ban an orb. Do you know what that orb is?
Yes. So the banned orb incentive got met, and we're banning the plasma orb. So our runners are not going to be able to use plasma for any damage dealing purposes. They can still equip the ring, which is the royal ring, so MP regen, and they can still use it for logical purposes because it's needed in order to get into one of the rooms in the past. But they won't be able to use it for damage. And on that note, I think that is all of the explanation that needs to happen before we get started. We might as well get started.
Sounds like a plan. Well, let's go ahead and get our runner's countdown here that's being handled in another room. And they should see that kickoff here shortly.
So while that's counting down, I want to talk a little bit about the settings for this run. There's a couple of things that are randomized, the settings. So we don't know what the settings are going to be until we get into the game. One of those is the win condition, which, as we talked about a little bit. The other is the starting location. We don't know if we're going to be starting in the present or if we're going to be starting in the past. So our runners are going to have to be ready in either case. The other thing that's really interesting is this is going through the archipelago infrastructure. So there is support for hints. The runners aren't allowed to use hints during the course of the game, but they do have all of the MacGuffins pre-hinted. So the actual win condition for the game requires getting all three, starting with Fire Orb Plus, that's really nice. Getting all three Timespinner gears, the Timespinner spindle, and the Timespinner wheel. But all of that is going to show up on the map. The inbuilt tracker that's built into the map of the game is going to show not only what's in logic, but also what's been hinted. So those 5 things, the rooms that those are in, are all going to be highlighted. And it looks like we're starting in the present. Cool. So that means that there's got to be some progression early on, and Fire Orb isn't quite it. Yeah, this should be a really quick start. Oh, we have the Teleria on. Okay, so we're not necessarily going to need progression early on. The Teleria actually fixes that problem. So you can see that these people are moving quite fast, and the Teleria attachment is what is responsible for that. Wow, immediate light wall. Okay, well, our runners can go anywhere and do anything. Good luck, runners. Light wall is one of the 2 ways to get infinite vertical in the game. Double jump gets you extra vertical, and light wall and celestial sash gets you infinite vertical. Light wall is the slow, expensive way to get infinite vertical. So it's going to be a bit of a struggle for some of our runners, I think, to get to some specific places. But we'll see where they all decide they want to go. All of them coming down here to check Skelly. Skelly has a mind refresh. And of course, that door is locked by the A security keycard, so they're not going to be able to go into there. Everybody going to check Skelly. That's good. Skelly needs company. Other things to talk about. The Rising Tides flag has been turned on. So you can see that there's water here in this initial part of the game, where normally there isn't. That holds true for many parts of the game. Oh, and the enemy randomizer. That is great. So there's a lot of places where there could be flooding or not, and some places that were flooded might not be, and some places that weren't flooded might be. And that's a random chance. I think it's a 33% chance for any one of those to be the thing that it doesn't start with. So we're seeing some water here, which actually enables access to checks that they might not otherwise be able to get to, because the water kind of keeps them floating above the ground at a specific height. And the same might hold true later. There might be places that normally they'd be able to access freely and won't be able to access without the water mask now. They've also picked up the tablet almost immediately, which is going to be helpful. that unlocks certain downloadable checks later on in the run. But wow, enemy randomizer is mean. I was not expecting the blue Chaos Wizards this early on. Fortunately, they're scaled down. Looks like their health pools aren't immediately enormous the way that they would be if you found them in their vanilla locations. I'm just in awe at all these like random enemy placements. This is fascinating. So yeah, so Rising Tides is definitely a thing. You can see them using the light wall. You can see Admiral Tryhard using the light wall in the bottom right to get access to something that would normally require double jump or some other vertical to get to. The boss randomizer, as you can see, is also turned on. So instead of the cat boss, we are finding the golden idol, the twins. Because the cat boss is supposed to be the first boss in the game, he's not particularly hard to fight, and any boss that gets randomized into that location is going to have really low health. So it's a lot of fun to bully end game bosses that get stuck in the Feline Sentry's location. And now our runners are an Empire Orb. That's pretty good. It's not going to take the place of the Fire Orb Plus, but it might be something that they switch to under specific circumstances. So we didn't talk about damage randomization. I guess that's the thing to talk about also. Hello? Squids? Damage rando. So all of the orbs have a chance to be boosted or maliced, I guess, have a detriment to their attack. Any given orb can be plus or minus or neutral. If it's plus, its damage is doubled. If it's minus, its damage is cut in half. And that is on top of the normal resistances or weaknesses that enemies might have. So a good orb on a weak enemy could be 4x damage, and a resistant orb on a strong enemy could be 1/4 damage. And that's a lot of multipliers. But now we're saying, bombardment minus. Bombardment, one of the better spells. But Forbidden Tome Plus, which I think is a bit of a controversial choice, actually. And a Shadow Seal. Iron Ore Plus, well, a lot of goodies in here. So we'll see what people want to equip with. I think at the end of the library run, everybody's going to have whatever toys they want. So we'll probably see a lot of personal expression, whatever orbs people are more comfortable with. We're definitely seeing Iron Orb getting equipped by both Sonny and Tryhard, and that's completely reasonable. Iron Orb is generally pretty good, generally well liked, and is and at plus is really a huge damage orb. Honestly, that's going to deal a lot of damage. It's going to be really effective. We can see Sonny taking the upper route now, looking up at the Kickstarter backer room at the top of the library with a bunch of checks in it. And this should also reveal whether or not the Gyre bosses are in logic. This was also something that was set in the race settings to be randomized. So we don't know until we get there whether or not the Gyre bosses are going to be turned on. Whether the Gyre in general is going to be turned on. So we should see that here. Looks like the Gyre bosses are turned on. So Ifrit and Ravenlord are going to be in the pool of boss randomizers, and both of those locations are going to be some late game checks. There's some not checks, late game boss locations. So any bosses that get randomized into those locations are going to be high damage, high HP, difficult to deal with. As well, the gauntlet part of the Gyre is going to be available and in logic, and that's only accessible once they get past the military base, close to the end of the game. So at that point, looks like they have access to the past now. I'm not exactly sure how we got access to the past, I'll be honest with you. We also haven't seen anybody check the map, I don't think. So even though hints are available for the Timespinner pieces, I don't think any of them have checked the map to see where those are. Yeah, it looks like Sonny's frozen in the house, and JLo's kind of being intermittent. Yeah, they did find the Time War Beacon. Okay, so that must have been it. I must have missed somebody picking up the Time War Beacon. Yeah, I can even see it on Sonny's tracker. So the way that the Twin Pyramid keys work, in this, there's a flag called Unchained Keys. So all of our runners start with the Twin Pyramid keys, which is the thing that you need in order to warp from one warp location to another. And then that allows them to warp back to any location they've been. But to unlock the various ages in the game, you need to find beacons unique to those time periods. So there's a time-worn beacon, a modern warp beacon, and a mysterious warp beacon that unlocks each of the three ages, or unlocks a random warp in each of the three ages as accessible. And now we're actually seeing some divergence with the Time War Beacon. So we've got Tryhard hanging out over on the the upper part of the left side of the map in Upper Lake Serene, getting all of these vines burnt. Saracen has decided to go through that lower half and looks like is heading towards the right half of the map now, into the castle. So we could be seeing some, yeah, seeing a lot of divergence here. We're seeing this must be this must be the Azure Queen location, the boss fight that Tryhard is in now, and Saracen still making his way into the castle and taking advantage of that light wall to get access to some of the more difficult to get to checks. Hopefully,
question.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm noticing Saracen and Jay have slightly altered palettes for their characters. Is that something part of the vanilla game, or is that part of the randomizer, or is that something?
There are actually items in the game that just swap your palette for something else, but there's also a setting for the randomizer that allows you to choose what palette you're using for each of these palette swaps. And I haven't looked too closely at what each of these players are doing, but they could very well have changed their settings to allow for to have swapped into different skins for Linnaeus.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just curious.
No, yeah, absolutely. Okay, looks like we have Sonny back in, so that's good. I think our audio was coming from JLo, so we might be having some audio woes now that JLo's stream is having a bad time. Unfortunate.
It is, but we'll go ahead and take this moment to go ahead and let everybody know what we're raising money for here. We are raising money for the Burn Children's Fund, hosted by MUSC, the Medical University of South Carolina. Their mission is to ease the recovery process for MUSC's pediatric burn patients and their families through supplies and training for the highest quality burn care, direct family support and education. If you want to go ahead and donate during this race, go ahead and use the Tiltify link. It's gonna pop up in chat here shortly, and I think there we go. We're starting to get visual again on Jay. Chat, do we have audio?
That's that looks like it needs some cropping.
A little bit, just a little bit. No, we just need health bars. It's fine.
Oh,
we
okay.
Just need to see that.
Fine.
There we go.
So we have a modern warp beacon on Tryhard's side. So that'll unlock a warp beacon in the present, which is where they started. But it might be further into the present than they previously had access to. But we won't find out exactly until we get a map check from Tryhard. So I'll try and keep an eye out for that. We have one of the gears found over on Saracen's side. So one of the 5 MacGuffins necessary in order to get into the endgame. I'm not sure exactly where he found that. Trying to keep track of 4 people at once is a lot. We have Tryhard heading into the Caves of Banishment, or not. Tryhard not heading into the Caves of Banishment. But one of the places that has a couple of checks. Unfortunately, most of the checks in the Caves of Banishment are waterlocked. You need to have the water mask in order to get those checks. So it's usually a place people don't go to until they have the water mask, but there are a few checks above water that might be worth getting. But I guess we won't know until we see kind of further in. Saracen going deeper into the castle now. With the light wall, our runners are going to have access to the upper end of the castle. They can get to Ilana's room, to Ilana's towers. Saracen, in fact, doing exactly that, skipping the Golden Idol location for a little bit. Checking through his orbs. There's the plasma geyser. That's right. So you do have access to Mom's room over here. There's a couple of checks that are gated by having the plasma orb in one way or another. So you need either the orb, the spell, or the ring for plasma. And looks like they had the plasma geyser, so they have access to that area. Sonny does not have access, has the plasma geyser. I guess Sonny is still checking some of the stuff before the tower, so it hasn't quite made it into the castle yet. I think Plasma Geyser was in the basement loop, maybe? I'm not exactly sure where that was. But Saracen heading up towards Ilana, and I like this routing, honestly. Heading towards... Okay. Saracen got the warp room above leading into Ilana's towers, and has come back down in order to fight the Golden Idol, in order to fight whatever enemy is going to be, whatever boss is going to be at this location. But that lets Saracen potentially warp out, since this is a bit of a kind of a long path to get to that fight, and then it's a bit of a long walk back in order to get to Ilana's towers. So I like going up to the warp room first to have a convenient warp point. So there's the Caves of Banishment. We're seeing the Caves of Banishment checks from Sonny now. So we'll see if there's any items down there that are worth going for. There should be 2 checks that are accessible here, and we'll see if missing those checks is going to be a big deal, or if this is a place that's going to be easy to come back to. Yeah, 2. Okay, so there's a health up and an ether, neither of which are particularly important. Something that they can come back to. We have the Sandman at the Golden Idol location. Sandman, kind of a rough fight without any tools to dodge. But fortunately, Sandman is weak to fire, and fire is plus. So Saracen should make short work of this boss. This is a 2-phase boss. Phase 1 done. Into phase 2. A little bit of damage. But I think Saracen has the Shadow Seal, so honestly, that damage is more helpful than hurtful. Shadow Seal, a speedrunner's favorite. The more damage you've taken, the more extra melee damage you do. I think up to 300% of your base damage if you're at like 1 health, and it's all percentage based. So that was a pretty quick fight, and that's one of the 3 bosses down that gate access to the lab. So potentially relevant. In fact, definitely relevant, since our racers are going to need to fight the Emperor, or whoever's in the Emperor location, at the top of the Emperor's towers in the present. So they're going to need to be able to get through the lab one way or another. The generally accepted way to get through the lab is killing all 3 bosses in the past, which is the Golden Idol location that Saracen's already taken out, the whatever boss is at Ilana's location, which Saracen is going to be heading up towards, and whatever boss is in the Maw's location at the bottom of the Caves of Banishment. We don't actually know whether or not the Caves of Banishment are accessible at this point, the Maw location. It might be that there is water in the way, as there typically is, but with Rising Tides flag, you don't actually know until you check. The map does show what's in logic. Is that a gas mask? No, that was a ring. Never mind. I haven't seen if anybody has checked the map to find out what is in logic or where specific things are. Oh, there's our water mask. Okay, we have Sonny picking up the water mask on the approach to the castle. So all of that is going to be in logic now, regardless of whether the water's drained or not. So I'm expecting Saracen and Sonny both to kind of go through the castle at this point. Saracen now heading up towards Ilana's room. Quite a few checks to make along the way. And with Light Wall only is unfortunately the hardest way to do Ilana's towers. Oh, it's Rishia. She's so cute and so annoying. But she's gone, so that's cool. Ilana's towers expects you to have some vertical access. In the vanilla game, that's double jump, which is awkward but fine. Light Wall is infinite vertical, provided you have the aura to supply it. So you can get all the way through, but it might require some consumables or some waiting around, as you can see here. Needed a little bit more aura in order to get that next Light Wall to make it up to the next section. So this is definitely the most awkward way and the slowest way to handle Ilana's towers, but they are handleable Light Wall only. And it looks like Saracen, as long as they're already here, has decided they don't want to head anywhere else and try other stuff first. They're just gonna go through it this way, which absolutely a valid decision. There may very well be extra vertical in Ilana's towers. Like, given that you have your way in, your 2 other vertical things could very well be behind Light Wall gated checks. So this is completely reasonable. I've also seen people make the other decision to wait until they have double jump or wait until they have Celestial Sash, which is basically like the rocket boots from SOTN. Just fly up as long as you want, which makes the traversal there a lot quicker. but also means that they wouldn't be going there until they have those items. So instead of Ilana, go for it.
I was gonna say, quick question about the logic here for those who might be uninitiated. For when you mentioned vertical logic, is the light wall included in that vertical logic check, or is it not? Okay.
The light wall is one of 3 ways to get additional vertical. So there's a bunch of checks that require additional vertical. Some of them also have additional ways to get there, like using time stop and jumping on enemies, or getting a boosted horizontal jump with the Teleria attachment. So the Teleria attachment also in logic in some cases. But the 3 ways for vertical are double jump, light wall, which lets you create platforms at the cost of aura, MP, and celestial sash, which is just infinitely shoot straight up into the air as long as you want.
Very cool.
Sash absolutely the quickest way to get anywhere. But if you don't have Sash, you make do with what you have. Sonny following in Saracen's footsteps, I think, at this point. Sonny heading up towards the Golden Idol location. So he's going to fight his Sandman fight. Saracen now heading down from Ilana's location. So Saracen has 2 of the past bosses under his belt. And I don't think anybody's found more than 1 of the MacGuffin pieces, 1 of the Timespinner pieces. Looks like both Saracen and Sonny with their trackers up. I can see they have the 3rd gear. I don't see the trackers for JLo or Admiral. Maybe they don't have them up. So they're going to need to get these kills since we met the incentive for both endgame boss fights. Regardless of how they get into the pyramid, and there's multiple ways of getting into the pyramid, so that is certainly a question. They're going to need to get through the lab and into the Emperor's Towers, since that is part of their win condition. But there are a lot of checks still to make, and a lot of places left to go. Saracen is cleaning out the last few checks in Ilana's Towers. Probably see him warping out here. Ah, that's where the wheel is. Very cool. Warping out, and now probably heading towards the Maw, going toward the left side of the pass now. Yep, there we go. So we should see him heading towards Lake Serene, and getting some checks along the way. I think I like this for him. Not leaving checks behind, since any of them could have something important. And getting a Celestial Sash or a double jump would be a pretty big deal towards affecting his movement in some of the more vertical locations. Nothing amazing so far, though.
So with this being AP, is it one runner gets an item and all the runners get an item, or is it
no? So they each have their own
for each
unique room, but they're all based off of the same seed. And the thing is that AP can do some things with the randomization that the standalone randomizer can't. The standalone randomizer doesn't have ways to weight particular settings. So by using AP, we have it set up so that it's random whether or not the win condition is fighting the Emperor or the win condition is fighting Nightmare. And it's random whether or not their start location is in the present or in the past. Otherwise, yeah, then we're not really using any of the interconnected AP features here. So we have Tryhard deep into the Caves of Banishment now, actually. That's pretty cool. So I guess Tryhard might have gone this direction first. Security keycard B, that's going to be relevant, but also in a location that Saracen is for sure going to check. There might be some stuff that are kind of out of the way here, but I'm expecting Saracen to be pretty thorough, Saracen and Sonny both, to be pretty thorough once they get down into the caves. So this is just, this divergence is more about the order in which they're doing things, rather than going to make a big difference in terms of like missing or skipping things. Well, that's where Gear 3 was. Well, good to know. JLo, unfortunately, looks like they're quite behind. I guess maybe their stall was like actually stalled rather than just playing while offline. So JLo is still tooling around in kind of the early parts of the past. Tryhard into the Caves of Banishment, heading towards the Maw fight. Saracen now, it looks like at the bottom of Lake Serene. And yeah, doing the underside of Lake Serene. Not sure if they're going to go for the Azure Queen location, if they're just going to go straight for the Caves of Banishment. And Sonny still going through Ilana's towers. Probably heading towards the Ilana boss fight location. I think they are clearing out all of the checks in Ilana's towers before going to the fight. Yeah, looks like. So they're heading up the right side of the towers, and then once they've gotten all the checks here, they'll head to the left and they'll beat up Emperor Nuvius, who was hanging out hanging out on the in Alana's boss location. Good use of time stop, by the way. I did mention time stop potentially useful as a way from getting one place to another. The game, there's a few places where the game expects time stop as a logical option for accessing some chest or another. But it's great to see them using time stop to kind of get through some of these harder locations, since that doesn't cost them the aura that Lightwall would. The boss fight. Okay, so Tryhard did not have the gas mask, and has done the boss fight at the mall location out of logic. The game expects you to have the gas mask for it, and deals you effectively poison damage while you're doing that fight, unless you have the gas mask. But they made quick enough work of it that I didn't even see what the boss was. So I guess the poison damage didn't matter too much. Saracen did in fact go up to the Azure Queen location, and burning the rest of the vines, presumably, in order to open up those checks in the present. There's 3 spots where there's burnable vines, and those open up similar locations in the present, since they're currently in the past. So once all of this, all of the boss killing and stuff in the past is done, that's going to be a couple more locations accessible in the present that weren't accessible to begin with. Does enemy rando affect the time stop vertical logic? Great question. Kind of. In any location where the game is expecting you to use time stop to get on an enemy in order to get something, the game is going to put an enemy that can be used in a similar way. So the struggle juggle locations, as they are affectionately known, has a free-flying enemy, regardless of what free-flying enemy. It could be any of several random free-flying enemies. The engineer jump location that J-Lo just passed by has an enemy that will charge off that ramp, regardless of from a pool of enemies that are willing to charge off a ramp, so that you can time stop it as it's falling and jump up to that chest. Now, not in every seed are you going to need those enemies to do that thing. Like, if you have any other kind of vertical, you have access to those chests even without time stop. But those enemies are, in fact, chosen specifically so that you can still time stop at those locations. Tryhard doing a quick map check, looking to see what's in logic, what's their next location. Tryhard back to the present now, it looks like. With the D keycard in hand. Not sure where they found these key cards. I see that Sonny doesn't have the D key card, but Saracen does. So once Saracen gets back to the present, they'll have a clear path there. And if you're quick, you can take a look the next time Tryhard brings up the map. There's some rooms that are flashing green. Those flashing green rooms are the locations of the Timespinner pieces, since they were pre-hinted. This is one of those features that we're using from Archipelago. D card had Spindle. Okay. Ooh, okay. Cool. But yeah, all of our racers do, in theory, know where all of the Timespinner pieces are. And it's just a matter of making sure that they have access to them, and then making sure that they have access to the endgame fights. Being able to really going into the Gyre. That's certainly a choice that you can make. Gyre is technically in logic now that he has the wheel.
It's time for a quick donation.
Absolutely, go for it.
We got a $20 donation from Lord Fizzlebeef. Says, yay, Timespinner. Bingo is full, so let's put this towards Town Rando for Castlevania 2. And just to bring attention to that chat, we do have some bid wars still available for the next 2 events. We have a bid war for choosing the character for Binding of Isaac. Right now, the loss is in the lead with $44, but all the other characters are available for that. And for Simon's Quest, we have 2 bid wars available. The first one is Character Sprite. Right now, Santa is in the lead with $20. So if anybody wants to knock old Saint Nick out of that position, go ahead and get your donations in now by the end of Binding of Isaac. And there's a bid war between the standard rando and the town rando. I have no idea what either of those are, but they both sound very interesting. And if you do know what those are, get your donations in to see the one you want to see. All the money does go towards the Burn Children's Fund, affiliated with the MUSC, and you can donate at the Tiltify link about to pop up in here in chat. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, no problem. So Saracen, I think at this point, has all 3 bosses under his belt. I have once again missed whatever fight was at the mall location. So it must have been very quick and very easy. But Saracen also has access to the right side of the map, and Saracen knows where all the various MacGuffins are. In fact, I would have expected Saracen to stop at the Siren's Cave in the present, since one of the either gear or something is going to be down in that location. But it looks like he's... Oh, no, he doesn't have the elevator key, so he can't yet. Okay, so that's why Saracen now rushing for the right side. And that makes a fair amount of sense. The next thing that they're going to have to do once they have all the MacGuffins, all the Timespinner pieces, is head over to the lab and to the Emperor's Towers. They're going to need to kill whoever's at the Emperor location, as well as kill whoever's in the Ancient Pyramid. So... Oh, he does have the elevator. What? Has he had that the entire time? Am I blind? I'm blind. He's had that the entire time. Cool. So this is the move that I expected, given that Saracen has the elevator key. Since we know one of the Timespinner pieces is going to be off in this corner, because Timespinner pieces are pre-hinted. So now we have Sani going through the Caves of Banishment, heading towards the Maw. I think this is past still. Yeah, this looks like the past. So Sani is one boss behind Saracen. We have Tryhard having already killed the Maw and now climbing Ilana's towers. So I think also in a similar position, kind of close to where Sani is, just having coming at it from another direction, since Tryhard's already cleared out the Caves of Banishment. And JLo quite a bit behind. JLo now going for the Golden Idol, which I think is going to be his first boss kill, but maybe he's also already gone through the Caves of Banishment while the stream was frozen. So I guess we'll see where JLo heads after going to the castle. Tryhard trying to do the struggle juggle. Wow. On one jump, if he pulls this off, that's actually pretty impressive. The game does not expect you to do this, for the record. The game is expecting him to be able to get this chest off of Light Wall, rather than off of the time stop jumping that he's doing. So he is 100% just showing off right here. Whenever the struggle juggle is in logic, the game expects you to have double jump as well as time stop. So it's not just single jumps. It gives you a lot more airtime and a lot more time to kind of finagle the position of the enemy. But instead, Admiral Tryhard has indeed tried hard and shown us what he's capable of. Well done. We have Saracen now going through the Lake Desolation area, picking up all those checks that were fire gated, which I'm not sure if there's a specific thing that Saracen is still going for, or if there was maybe one of the Timespinner pieces here, because I haven't really had a good look at the map. All of our runners moving entirely too fast. Somebody should tell them to not do that thing. Saracen having not killed the Maw? Maybe Saracen hasn't killed whoever's at the Maw location. Oh, he's looking for the gas mask. That's what's going on. Okay, so Saracen still doesn't have the gas mask. So he's hunting through all the locations that are currently in logic in order to find the gas mask so he's allowed to kill the Maw. Whereas Sani and Tryhard both not caring, just taking those poison hits and deciding anything in Lake Desolation is just something they're not going to get. I see we have Nightmare at the Maw location, which is a... Oh, and Jin Inferno Plus. All right, yeah, any boss is just going to get steamrolled. No wonder. So that's a quick fight. I think any fight at this point is going to be quick. I'm not sure if Saracen has found the Jin Inferno. Probably has. Saracen finally deciding that enough time wasted looking for the... Oh, there's the Jin Inferno. Cool. Enough time wasted looking for the gas mask. He's going to come through here and do it anyway, I think. But now with the Maw under Sani's belt, that is all of the past bosses. So Sani looks like getting a few extra checks here, but could just as easily head for the present and start beelining towards the lab or towards whatever the extra set of checks they need are in order to get the remaining Timespinner pieces. Yeah, checking out these. There is. Was it in the caves? I'm not sure if it was in the present caves. I think it's in the present caves. There's a Timespinner piece. But now that he has the water mask, he can get all of the checks that are here in the past caves. So this is not an unreasonable set of checks to make. pretty quick considering that he was already right in this location. And who knows, maybe he finds something good. Or maybe this is where the Celestial Sash is. Saracen also kind of following in the same route, a little bit behind Sonny now after spending some time looking for the gas mask. But Saracen also has a little bit more progress in the present. So even without, even being a little bit behind in this specific area, Saracen overall probably a smidgen ahead of Sonny. And Admiral Tryhard, I'm not sure where Tryhard is in regards to the present bosses, or the past bosses. I think Tryhard is now all the way through all of them, also having killed Alana. And now just taking poison damage in Lake Desolation, checking all these checks. This is dangerous. Extremely dangerous, but you know, if this is how you want to live your life, then who am I to tell you what to do? There are a couple of places, even in this poison area, where there's still some oxygen. So you saw him taking a pause in that room at the bottom of this L kind of area. That bottom room, because it curves up a little bit, has oxygen in it, so you can stop in there and refill your health and refill your oxygen. Yeah, Shattered is minus. There was a Bombardment minus in the library. So everybody's favorite blunt instrument is probably not going to be the orb of choice. On the other hand, if they want blunt damage, Iron is plus. So that is a hefty weapon as well as a hefty spell if they eventually get the Colossal Hammer. Saracen. This is Moat. This is Map. This is Waterfall. Waterfall checks? Something underwater. And now with all three bosses dead, Saracen can in fact go through the military gate. So there is one Timespinner piece in the lab. And there is one Timespinner piece. Saracen's missing a second Timespinner piece. It can't be in the Ancient Pyramid. That was disabled via the AP settings. And so it's got to be somewhere in the past that he didn't check, I guess, since I didn't see any other flashing rooms in the present. Without double jump, the check up... the check... Oh, no, with time stop and light wall, that check is in logic. Normally it requires time stop and double jump, or some other method of getting up there. J-Lo having trouble with aura. J-Lo having aura woes. This is the problem with Lightwall. Why Lightwall is slow is you need to have enough mana to cast Lightwall if you want to go anywhere. And you don't always have enough mana to cast Lightwall. But Saracen beelining for the lab now. Sonny going through all these Lake Desolation checks that were in logic prior to killing them all. So, maybe required, maybe not. Oh, the spindle. He's missing the spindle, which we know is in the D card area in the library. Right. Okay. So we now know where all of the Timespinner pieces are. And I think everybody has access to all of them too. I guess the ones in the lab people still don't have access to. But it's going to require some vertical once they get there. But the next step after finding all those pieces is go for the boss fights. So those two boss fights are going to be at the top of the Emperor's Towers, above the lab. So Saracen's got to clear out the lab first. He's got to go all the way through here. Oh, single jump Lightwall lab. What a pain. This is an area where the game definitely expects you to have more vertical than just this. The game expects you to have double jump and time stop. So single jump Lightwall is doable, but absolutely a hassle. By far the most painful way to go through the lab. Doable, but painful. Sonny having gotten... That looks like Sonny just got... Oh, Sonny's going through the elevator towers, looking for... I'm not even sure what he's looking for. He might be just getting checks. But Sonny missing two Timespinner pieces, one of which we know is in the lab, and one of which we know is in the Siren's Cave, which I think he's heading towards right now. Yep, so he's heading towards the Timespinner piece at the end of the Siren's Cave. And Admiral Tryhard, I think Also in the Siren's Cave. Okay, so he's heading towards that Time Spinner piece as well. Yeah, Admiral Tryhard and Sonny neck and neck right now, both in the same location. I think Tryhard maybe has a couple of seconds on Sonny, but not by a whole lot. And J-Lo, this is Nuvius at Ilana's location. So J-Lo is, in the past, trying to clear up those last 3 bosses. Or the last boss of the 3, I'm assuming. I'm not sure if J-Lo still has to do the Maw yet. But we'll keep an eye on him. And see where he's at in terms of progression. Saracen turned off the lab, fighting Varndegroth at the Blob Bomb. Wow, why am I blanking on the character's actual name? But the lab boss location. Double jump in the lab? Ooh, okay. Double jump is a pretty big deal. Yeah. And double jump is going to make a lot of this traversal much easier, especially in Emperor's Towers, too. Saracen taking a quick dip back into the library for shopping, presumably. Oh, no, to get that time spindle that he missed. Yup. And, Tryhard now booking it through the military hangar on his way to the lab. And Sonny maybe seconds behind him, having just picked up the other Time Spinner piece. Genza! Wow, yeah, that took me a while. Thank you, Lily. So Varndegroth at the Genza location. And Saracen making, I think, the correct decision here to just go. There's a couple of checks that he could have gotten over on the right side. It's through a little bit of a gauntlet. There's some enemies in the way. And they may or may not be important. But Saracen is in go mode at this point. He's got all 5 Time Spinner pieces, so all that he needs to do is beat both of the end game bosses. He's got to make his way to the Ancient Pyramid in some way or another, and a little bit harder. I think he might have... Yeah, it looks like he does have the mysterious warp beacon, so he can warp straight to the pyramid without needing to go through the lab and breaking time. And he's going up to the Emperor's location at the top of the towers first. I think that means that Nightmare is their win condition. So this is going to be the first of 2 bosses that Saracen needs to kill in order to complete his seed. Donnie picking up a Celestial Sash. That's pretty cool. Celestial Sash in the air vents on the right side of the elevator towers. I think that beacon was in the same room as the spindle. Could have been. Yeah, I haven't seen exactly what was in any of those locations. There's been a lot to pay attention to. The Celestial Sash is actually going to make a pretty big difference for Sonny's traversal in this area. Like, you can see him time stopping and using Celestial Sash to make it through some of those corridors that Saracen had to go all the way around and then use Light Wall in order to get some extra height. Yeah, Saracen now in the pyramid on his way to the final boss. Sonny quite a bit behind, making his way to the lab. And Tryhard in the lab proper at this point. So, also a bit behind Saracen, but not that far. On the other hand, Sonny being behind Tryhard right now is maybe not necessarily accurate, since the Celestial Sash makes up for a lot. And you can see him just zooming up that corridor in the middle, right? And that's going to make a big difference in terms of traversing the lab and getting through the Emperor's Towers. So Tryhard currently ahead, but Sonny's making up that time with the Sash. Absolutely. Saracen struggling their way through the Ancient Pyramid. And of course, Enemy Randomizer has taken the extremely difficult enemies. Yeah, good job, Saracen. Okay, that's actually a fairly difficult trick to do, especially when you're kind of on the spot there. The double jump and light wall interact in such a way that you can throw out a light wall and then use double jump to get on top of that light wall. Otherwise, Saracen would have fallen all the way down that enormously long shaft and needed to light wall climb the entire way, given that he doesn't have the sash. So this is really, really good for Saracen. Probably saves him, you know, a minute or so, minute and a half. Yeah, so Tryhard now doing light wall jumps all the way up through Emperor's Towers. We're going to see him fighting whoever's at the Emperor boss location. And Sonny on his way towards Genza, I think, having cleared out the lab at this point. Yeah, the Celestial Sash makes a huge difference in how fast you can go through some of these places. Yep, Varney at the Genza location, and Saracen onto his second boss fight at the Nightmare location, and that's time. That is time for Saracen at looked like a 42-43 or so. Very nice, very well done, super smooth. I think the official time in the race room is 42:47. Wow, congrats to Saracen. I suppose he'll head on over into this room in a second. We're seeing Sonny not too far behind him, working on making his way towards the Emperor location still. And Tryhard, I think, just finished the fight at the Emperor location, so maybe now heading towards the pyramid? Or maybe still needs to get one of those missing keys. Oh, no, he has the keys and has decided to break time the normal way instead of using the mysterious warp beacon. Okay, cool. Hey, Saracen, congratulations.
Thank you.
We've got Sonny and Tryhard both pretty close behind you. Tryhard now breaking time, whereas Sonny just killed the young Nuvius at the old Nuvius location.
Yeah, we were all just hanging out and talking trash in the waiting room this whole time, and oh wow, that's a funny location for the sash. Okay,
Yeah.
Sonny mentioned that he found the sash, and I was just like, I had no interest in going into the tower whatsoever.
Right.
Like I checked a couple extra things where I was like, wait a minute, I could be done now.
Yeah, you were making a couple of movements that I was like, okay, I guess he's maybe looking for something else, and he's no, he's in go mode. He knows what he's doing. Yeah, Sonny and Tryhard both pretty close together. I think Sonny did that dip into the elevator towers, which slowed him down a bit, but also gave him the sash. So I don't know that that's going to make the difference in terms of catching him up to Tryhard, but it definitely helped out with the Emperor Tower traversal. And
oh no, Tryhard
down goes Admiral Tryhard. Okay, so we're gonna see what his aura recovery looks like. This is gonna be a journey for him, I think. Oh, he's trying to glitch out.
He is very aggressive with the glitches generally. So
okay,
also,
well, at least with double jump and light wall, it's not too bad. This is gonna cost him, 45 seconds or so.
Yeah.
Could have been a lot worse. And Sonny, of course, isn't gonna have to deal with this because he's got Celestial Sash, so he'll just shoot on over and
yeah, except he's still going to do the light wall clip anyway.
He did it anyway. Sure, I could respect that.
Yeah,
you might as well do the swag light wall jump there.
I certainly thought so. I mean, not that I had much choice.
Right. No, you pulled it off. I was actually really impressed. I thought that looked really good. So yeah, we should see Sonny now a little bit ahead of Admiral Tryhard because of that the light wall skip versus the Celestial Sash. Well, not because of the Celestial Sash, but light wall skip is a big deal.
Yeah.
And JLo, unfortunately, just way behind, still in the library now. I think JLo has killed all of the past bosses at this point.
I did see him at the mall location, so.
All right, well, that's boss 1 down for Sonny, and that's boss 1 down for Tryhard, so they're really close to each other, actually. Oh, Wrath taking the time. Sonny taking the time to menu. That's going to make the difference. Oh my god. Seconds lost from menuing. Oh, that hurts me. That hurts me deep in my heart. Oh, poor Sonny.
We're all just having a fun time here. I think of the ones in the race, I was the only one who did practice of this because, I wanted to put on a good show, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, both of these guys, top quality runners. They are aggressive glitchers. They know a lot of strats that I have never bothered to learn.
So maybe you have a better insight as to where everybody is from. I assumed everybody came over from the Archipelago side, but maybe you have kind of more information about kind of their bona fides as such.
We are all FFR players who came into Timespinner because of Archipelago.
Fantastic.
And
This
so
is a Timespinner Discord.
the ongoing job. Yeah, the ongoing joke there.
That's right. There was the cross tournament with FFR and Timespinner for a while, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Hard Wrath Forever.
Yep. Those guys being the winners of it.
Very cool. Yeah, that slightly predates me. I don't think I was paying attention to Archipelago or any of the tournament scene at that time. But I've been pretty heavy into the Timespinner community, so very cool to see other people being involved.
Yeah, but it was a great race. I really liked how this shook up the rule set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought this was really interesting. Not needing to do the MacGuffin hunt at the end is definitely a huge difference from the way that the tournament played out, the SPL tournament played out. Good or bad is a value judgment I'm not willing to put in, but it's absolutely a different way to play.
No, you're saying you're avoiding the MacGuffin hunt. I last locationed the elevator key.
So hunting for a different MacGuffin.
Yeah, and that was a flag set design choice that I really wanted to highlight. With the starting hints showing us where the gears were, it was more about finding your access to things, and the elevator keycard D and B being very important in the flags. Just trying to focus on shifting away from, it could be anywhere gears was a big part of it.
Sure. JLo, welcome. Bummer about, looks like you were having some stream problems. I'm not exactly sure what happened over there. So sorry about the forfeit, but thank you for participating.
No problem. I gave up because they're all done and I'm still missing a very important item. I didn't have keycard D yet.
Oh, yeah.
Yikes. Yeah, that would do it.
I feel like keycard D was from Serene? Like
yes,
underwater?
It was underwater.
Like T-chest or something like
that? No.
It was where you get the Timespinner wheel, but in the past.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
It was in the hook.
Yep. The other hook.
Yeah.
So actually, one thing that I wanted to ask you all, I saw you all kind of mostly, I guess at the beginning of the race, there's not a whole lot of room for divergence. You're kind of all doing the same thing until you get your past access. But once you got your past access, things went wildly different for all three of you. Saracen, you made a beeline towards the right side. You headed towards the castle. Sonny, you kind of hung around in the Lake Serene area. And then Tryhard was even a bit further behind. I didn't see exactly where Tryhard was during most of that initial time, but he was kind of following in Sonny's footsteps before making it over to the tower.
So I think the big difference, Sonny, did you grab the Forget-Me-Not chest at the start?
Yeah, I grabbed Forget-Me-Not.
Oh, okay. I think that was probably the big one because I had spent a time like warping to the present, checking out the library. Yeah, I'd have to watch it back to actually know what it is.
Yeah, it was just really interesting to see, like, especially in a game like Timespinner, a game that in a tournament setting with Teleria attachment, this game is so short, and to see that much divergence effectively right at the beginning was really amazing to me.
Yeah, and for my part, I'm super comfortable with light wall strats. Not a huge fan of having to do that without a shop with the ethers in it, but I'm very comfortable with that, and so I was going to do tower pretty much as soon as I saw light wall. I was like, oh, well, that's where I'm going.
Sure. Tryhard, Sonny, did that affect your routing at all? Like, did you make decisions based off having only light wall versus not having any other vertical?
Yes, because especially early on in the race and having access directly to the Royal Towers, if the shop doesn't have an ether, you could just spend time sitting there, even if you use like optimal movement. But hey, speaking of the Royal Tower, that struggle juggle,
Good job showing off, Admiral Tryhard. Your name is appropriate.
I literally showed up to this race room 10 minutes beforehand thinking it was an hour later, and I went in thinking, I'm going to show off. That's the goal here.
Well, I think you pulled it off. Even without a win, you probably claimed the moral victory.
That's all one could hope to get in a marathon setting.
This was for the fans.
Yeah. So, Saracen, anything else you wanted to say about the flag set? Like, this is a very, very unique flag set compared to time spinner races that I've been a part of before. And you mentioned part of it was trying to avoid the MacGuffin hunt feel from the SGL races. But anything else that you want to mention?
The other thing I really wanted to highlight was archipelago functionality that just doesn't exist in the base randomizer. The ability to tri-state things, the ability to have weighted options. I didn't put in a lot of weighted options specifically, but that was a big part of it. Enemy rando, I don't think has been in a tournament before of any sort because it's sometimes questionable if you're going to have a good experience with that. I know I've certainly had seeds where I've had to just wait on Mayf to kill a Hellgazer.
Oh, God.
That's what the light wall's for now.
Well, so the light wall certainly helped, but that was why we had starting Mayf. I have had to die to get Mayf to pass a Hellgazer in earlier iterations of playing enemy rando. But yeah, I wanted to show off the versatility of the game within the other path of development. Going into Archipelago and doing the races there provides options that just don't exist within the built-in randomizer functionality.
Sure. Well, very cool. Honestly, I had a great time trying to keep up with all four of you and providing commentary. And honestly, I think the race was great to watch. So I guess let me toss it to you, Saracen, first for if you have any shoutouts.
I want to shout out the folks who came and joined me here tonight because this was an open race. Nobody was committing to anything. I wasn't expecting people to commit. But Sonny, Tryhard, JLo, thanks for coming in, hanging out. And Jim, thank you for doing the comms. I know that you just came off of doing the Tunic Run comms, so it's been a busy night for you.
Sure, it's been a blast, honestly. Like this is what I want to be doing, so I'm very happy to be here. What about Sonny? Any shoutouts?
Just shout out to Saracen for organizing this. Massive thank you. And oh god, now I have to switch from race mode to I have to play extremely well in Isaac mode. Here we go.
Well, good luck in your upcoming Isaac run.
No,
Admiral
not
Tryhard?
good luck. Get good. Yeah.
No, they're actually get good is a very true statement, but I'll explain that whenever we get into it.
Stay tuned. Yeah.
Admiral Tryhard, any last words?
Yeah. This entire rule set is very much in line with I'd say it's in line with how we in the FFR community like to race things. It's simply different philosophies than, pure time spinner community, but having both, more time spinner, converting the Discord to time spinner Discord even more, it's a great time. And I love getting to show off dumb things, even if we're in Logic still.
Yeah, absolutely. JLo, anything you want to say?
Not really. I think they covered it.
Great.
Thank you again for doing comms, and thanks Saracen for setting this up.
Yeah, thanks again to Saracen for organizing this particular entry into the marathon. I'm really glad that this came together. Do you all stream? Should people follow you?
Feel free to. Tryhard and I have been partners in crime for multiple years, and we took to the lab during the FFR X Timespinner AP rate or AP tournament, and we definitely put in a lot of practice during that time.
Very
Stay
cool.
tuned for our shenanigans, because we are up to shenanigans very often,
and shenanigans are also about to be had anyway.
You don't even need me for those ones.
No.
All right. Well, I think we are bumping into the time for the Binding of Isaac stream, so we should probably call this quick. I have been Jim the Eternal. If you've been here since the Tunic Randomizer, thanks for sticking around for all of it. Stick around for even more randomizer nonsense. I've had a great time, and I think that's it for us.